I looked at you. The Wayne County Commission Committee on Ways and Means meeting will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Scott. Commissioner Baker McCormick. Commissioner Marecki.
Here.
Commissioner Clemente.
Here.
Commissioner Anderson.
Present.
Vice Chair Baydoun.
Here.
Chair Kinlock.
Present.
You have a quorum present.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda,
Chair's remarks.
none at this time. Next item.
Item C, approval of the minutes from the June 25th, 2024 meeting.
So moved. Moved by Baydoun, supported by Anderson. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, this action stands approved. Next item.
Unfinished business, there is none listed. Moving to page 2. Item E1, under new business. Requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35-179, reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
Are there any questions associated with this item? Any questions? Next item.
Item 2, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35-192, reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
Any questions? Any questions on this item? As it relates to item number 3, Madam Clerk, we're going to move that down into the clerk representative arrives.
Okay.
So we'll move that to the bottom.
Is that Mr. Nasser? Okay.
No.
Okay, moving to item 4, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35-182, reallocating expenditures in the Juvenile Justice Abuse Neglect Fund.
Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Madam Clerk, next item.
In commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35-155, reallocating expenditures in the County Road Fund.
Are there any questions? Are there, who's here to answer questions associated with this item?
Good morning, Commissioners. Michelle Yancey, DPS admin. This right here is to purchase furniture for our department for equipment IPPM division.
Commissioner Anderson.
Could you explain what did you say, IPPM,
That's our inventory, our stock room.
stock room?
Mhm.
Okay, and when I read, and maybe our summary here has a little bit of different, it says office furniture.
Yes.
And so it's a stock room that you're buying furniture for? Is that what it?
No, like the desk and the chairs that the employees utilize.
Oh, okay. So that, so that this is this for a new position in the, or is it just?
We just need new furniture. The things that we have are in not disarray, but they're pretty used.
Oh, okay,
So, our chairs are falling apart, our desks are,
okay.
you're
All right, thank you.
welcome.
Are there any additional questions? Any additional questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, Madam Clerk.
Item 6, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35-161, certifying revenue in the County Park Fund.
Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Next item. Hold on. Okay, who's here to speak to this? In one moment.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to say, there's just not any analysis. That's why we,
Okay, so
on number 6. Good afternoon to the chair, Commissioner Clemente, Alicia Bradford, DPS Parks Division Director. For item number 6, it is a revenue from DTE for tree utility work that is done within our park system. So that is basically their funding per our tree restoration protocol that they compensate Wayne County Parks for a specific number of trees being removed for replanting or other beautification for park improvements in the park.
Okay, any additional questions?
Wanted to know
Okay.
what it was. Thank you.
Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you. Alicia, could you tell me, this is a different issue completely, but I just wondered, is there I guess a time frame that people can rent a pavilion and use it? I mean, is there, when they have to be cleared out of using that pavilion?
Thank you. Through the chair, Commissioner Anderson. So of course, our reservations begin May 1st to September 30th. We do our reservations Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and on holidays. During that time, there's first come, first serve, but they have to follow the park rules or ordinance of from dawn to dusk. So we know in the summertime, usually it's about 9:00. 9:30 that they have to clear from shelter. And then the sheriffs may be going through just asking people to leave the shelter within a timely fashion. But that's typically, they can rent from, sun up when they're able to access the shelter until, dusk.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Any additional questions? Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda.
Moving to page 3, item 7, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35-166, reallocating expenditures in the environmental program fund.
Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Next item.
Item 8, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35-178, reallocating expenditures in the Department of Environment Fund.
Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Next item.
Item 9, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35-177, certifying revenue in the 2018A Jail Center Construction Fund.
Are there any questions? Who's here to speak to this? No. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Good afternoon, Rob Whittigan, Chief Deputy Financial Officer.
Just could you, it's $30 million. I know we've talked about it in the past, but if you could.
Absolutely. So this is to sufficiently fund the CJC business units. There's a few business units being hit properly based on incurred actuals and then also anticipated costs for the remainder of the fiscal year. So for example, CJC, the funds are being distributed to the CJC Construction Fund, parking lot. This is partially, to finish up the parking lot. And so and like I said, it's hitting or covering incurred expenditures that were not budgeted for appropriately, and then also covering remaining costs based on the summary received by our project managers.
Okay, so with this allocation, we're at the tail end. How many do you foresee any additional costs or transfers being necessary?
At this time, based on the analysis from our project manager, this should help us close out the fiscal year and then get into the next fiscal year with proper budgeting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, one thing that I'm gonna ask, has there been any, as far as the sheriffs move into the CJC, has there been any contracts or consultants or dollars in the fund associated with helping them with that transition, or is that just all taking place in-house at this particular point? Do we have any consultants on board right now assisting the sheriff's department with moving over 2,000 persons over into the CJC?
I apologize. I would have to circle up with administration and get back to you on that.
Okay, would you please?
Yeah, absolutely.
Any additional questions? Any additional questions? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next item, Madam Clerk.
Item 10, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35-181, reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
Are there any questions? Any questions? Next item.
Item 11, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35-201, certifying revenue in the general fund.
Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Next item.
Item 12, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35-141, reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
Next, are there any questions? Are there any questions? Next item, Madam Clerk.
We're moving back to item 3, page 2. Requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35-193, reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
Mr. Seals, we are waiting on you. Yep.
Good afternoon, everyone. Appreciate the opportunity to come here. We're asking here, I think that's the $430,000 budget adjustment. Actually, it's $525,000. We're over to move over to CJC, we need a new equipment as far as computers, $400,000. The clerk was able to have some savings in that court business unit. So in order, instead of going back to the commission and asking for an extra $400,000, she decided to take some of her savings and move that over and pay for those extra equipment right there. And then, of course, we have 2 vehicles that are obsolete. So we're replacing those 2 vehicles with a van and also a SUV. That's transporting documents back and forth from one area to another. And I think there's another $45,000 worth of furniture also included in that. And those are all done from savings in that particular business unit.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Anderson.
Yes, thank you. Doing the SUV, why is it necessary to have an SUV?
What happens is that we're transferring some of the individuals, we're transporting some of our employees from one area to another area. We're over in CJC. So oftentimes we have office or meetings here at KMAC or they're over at Fort Monroe. We found that a lot of times it's not too hard sometimes for the guys to jump up into the van. But sometimes for women, they have a dress on or heels on. We found it was difficult for them to get into the van. So we thought it would be easier if we were to get SUV, which will allow us to still transport packages back and forth, but then also that people can jump in the van, easy jump into the vehicle. And that's why we picked one's a SUV and one a van instead of getting 2 vans.
So is there not a step can be on the, buy a van with the step on it?
We could. I mean, there's a step on the van now.
Right.
But we've had a couple of people actually fall on that a couple of times, getting in the back. If you're in the front seat, you happen to ride the front seat, you're okay. It's the people who jump in the back. And these aren't the what is it, the Chrysler minivans that's comfortable to get into. These are these big cargo vans, so they're not really geared for transporting.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Individuals.
Commissioner Marecki.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. But you do need a new vehicle. You're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
just switching around because someone has a dress on.
No. I don't want to say it wrong. It's not everyone wear a dress, okay? I mean, I've actually fell on it too, though, so I should probably be fair. It is difficult trying to get up in the back. Just usually I get to ride in the front usually, unless Ms. Garrett's there, then I'm in the back, but.
But you need a new vehicle.
We do. We need 2 new vehicles, actually. Both those, I think we have 2 vehicles now, and they're just obsolete, though. In fact, if you've seen them on the road, they're kind of rusted. Sometimes they don't start when it's cold outside, and we're still trying to bring documents from one, and we need to get those documents over. So if when those documents are requested by the courts on one at night, by tomorrow morning, they have to be over to them from the VIG over to that area.
So
Okay.
does this amount need to be adjusted? Because we have 430,000.
No, in fact, I was kind of concerned, and I had talked with your chief fiscal advisor, Terrence, Mr. Adams. I asked him why it was only 430 and not the 525, and he explained it to me.
Through the chair, the actual budget adjustment, which would happen on the back end, is for 525,000. But because there's reallocations within the same major, they cancel each other out as they come to the commission for approval. But the total budget adjustment is for 525. But only 430 of it comes to the commission because of reallocation of an increase, decrease in the same major.
Okay, thank you.
And again, we want to, the clerk want to make sure I stress that these are savings that she was able to produce over the year. So we're not asking the commission for any additional money. This is money within that business unit.
Okay, I'm going to go to Merrick and I'll call back to you, Commissioner. I'm not Commissioner Baker McCormick and then Commissioner Anderson. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What kind of vehicles are you getting and what year are the vehicles that you're
Replace.
making obsolete or
No,
replacing?
That is, when we talk with, M&B, I guess they have a department that actually acquire or purchase these vehicles for us. And they recommend, I think it was either a Ford Explorer or I think it was a Jeep or something like that. There were a couple of choices they gave us. I don't think we had an opinion on which one. I think we took whichever one that they gave us. I think they told us a Ford Explorer. So one of the SUV is a Ford Explorer they're getting.
Okay.
And the other one, I think is a Ford cargo van, the regular vans that we have. Now, the age of the vehicles, I'm not for sure. I can check and I would be happy to tell you. I just know that I've been there for 7, 8 years and they were old when I got there. So I'm not for sure. I can get the exact,
And so the vehicles that you're replacing with the newer vehicles what year are the newer vehicles?
Oh,
Do you know?
That would be 2020. They would be the new 2024 or
2024.
2025, whichever the new ones
When the
come out,
purchase is made.
when we purchase them, so.
Okay. And had another question now. It slipped my mind. Okay, I'll pass.
Commissioner Anderson, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, again for recognizing me. Dwayne, what kind of markings will these vehicles have on them?
Just the regular Wayne County markings that we have
Okay.
on the van. We're not putting any,
Okay, thank you.
just the regular markings they have on it.
Thank you.
And I
Okay,
thought of-
Commissioner Baker McCormick again, no
Yes, I
problem.
thought of the question. Are these vehicles driven any other time outside of
We've never
work
used
them? I
them.
mean,
No,
just-
not outside, no.
Okay,
Those are, in fact, they're driven by our Vigliotti team, who they actually transport. So in fact, when I call, even if I call for a transport from here over to the CJC Center, they come and pick us up downstairs. They take us.
And they're
come back.
parked in that big parking lot.
Yeah, they're parking in
right, the
big, so yeah, they're
parking
not
lot.
taking, no one does it. No, we don't take
okay.
them.
So once you're done, at the end of the day, they're
Yes.
parked over at,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, a
Okay,
location.
but let me just ask a question on your, so, but they're totally still at the direction and utilized at the direction compliant to county policy by
Exactly.
the clerk. The clerk can utilize them within allowed rules.
Yes, sir. Like, to the chair, every vehicle gives us guidelines as how they can be used. So they have to be used for the use of clerk business. Like I said, again, it's just a big team. They usually, their drivers, they're certified. They have their chauffeur's license to be able to transport individuals or equipment back and forth.
They all have a driver that's attached to that vehicle. Is that what you're saying? There's not
No,
different
There are,
people?
So there's, I mean, because we don't have enough vehicles for every driver
Right.
over there. So I think there's like 2 vehicles, and I think there's 5 drivers over there. But those are the same individuals that work in the VIG too. So a person may be pulling today, they're pulling files and give them to the driver. And then the next day, maybe the other driver's pulling files, and the other person's driving.
So it's basically 5 drivers and they rotate,
Right,
basically.
exactly.
So there's no limitation of anyone, as long as they're a county employee and employee of the clerk's office that have access to this vehicle, but under the direction of the clerk. So I don't want to say that it's exclusive to these drivers. It's only exclusive to folks who are authorized by the clerk to utilize the vehicle for purpose of transporting.
You just indicated that there's 5 individuals that,
Well,
for that purpose.
I want to thank you, to the chair. I appreciate you clarifying that out. That vehicle is operated throughout the policy and rules of the Wayne County.
Correct.
So, which is under the clerk. So therefore, the clerk could say, Dwayne, could you please jump in that vehicle and drive me over
And we,
there? That could happen. She's never said that. She probably wouldn't want me to drive the vehicle, but she could, as long as I have a driver's license, and I'm able to drive a county vehicle. So therefore, as well as anyone else could tell me to get into a vehicle and drive, I'm able to drive that vehicle, but it'd be according to county rules and policy.
And so you don't need a chauffeur chauffeur's license. Is that the case?
I do whatever the policy is for, I do have a chauffeur's license. I used to drive a, when I was in college, I used to drive a bus, so I used to
Okay.
drive.
So is
a-
that part of the policy though?
That, I think the chauffeur's license requirement, if I remember correctly, if you transport more than 15 passengers, you have to have a chauffeur's license. So I don't think so. And I think if you're doing for public, I'm not sure the rules on that though, but we would follow whatever the rules are.
Whatever the rules are, and the reason why I want to say this because like when I was on the board of canvassers, there are times that Greg has actually driven us
Yeah,
places
okay.
because, driven us to recounts early in the morning, all the other stuff there. So I'm just saying, so that's as long as they have a
Right.
license and state law and the county policy, yeah.
Exactly.
Next question. So speaking of licensing, I don't know if you know, but how do you verify someone has a license? I mean, is it like a yearly process or, where you verify or is there a process?
When you get hired by Wayne County, personnel will verify that they have to meet the qualifications. So if it requires a chauffeur's license and so forth. That is a good question as far as what's to verify if someone else get in the vehicle. I will check, I will check and get that to you. That's
Yeah.
but again, it's underneath the clerk's direction and I'm sure she's not gonna put someone in that vehicle that could
Right,
cause.
but if you haven't
okay.
verified, somebody's license could expire for whatever reason, or they could have some issues that came up and you wouldn't be aware of it. So I was just wondering, there's some check and balance on
But
that
that's,
end, but that's just something.
That's a good point. I know that I worked at another municipality and everyone who was able to drive a vehicle, they would do a kind of a yearly check of your license. I'm not for sure if Wayne County, if that's what they do, but that is a good point. I will take a look and see because, I guess we should know if someone's.
But that's a further thing with HR that
Right,
I
that's
think you should
HR.
probably reach out to them and
Mhm.
figure out. Yes, let me reach out, Ms. Felicia.
So through the chair, to this honorable body, the commission adopted a vehicle use ordinance that addresses many of the questions that you're discussing now, such as the requirement to have a driver's license in order to operate a county vehicle. I'll have to review the ordinance to see if there's or talk to PR to see if there's an annual or some type of check to confirm that individuals who've been working for a number of years continue to hold those licenses. But there are rules in place that this body has adopted with regards to the use and operation of vehicles regarding what can be placed on vehicles as far as identification and requiring the county seal and other things that have been discussed here. You have an ordinance to address most of them.
Okay, can you forward that ordinance, once you get your hand, to all the, committee members, please? Yeah, thank you. Commissioner Baydun.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is related to what Felicia just mentioned. It's required, obviously, for all county employees to have a valid driver's license. But is there a mechanism or a process in place to monitor the driving record of some of these drivers that are driving these county vehicles? For example, what if someone was pulled over for a DUI and it's on his record and we don't know about it? Next time he gets behind the wheel, he kills someone. Is there something
So
in
I know,
process?
so we'll find, go ahead, I'm
So
sorry.
the ordinance does address what you're saying about driving records, but again, I guess we need to follow up and maybe this may or may not need to be an amendment to the ordinance. I'll review it and come back to the chair of the committee with regards to if we're doing checks, because it does address that initially. I just don't know if there are checks to address what you're saying, just similar to the requirement for the valid license.
Yeah, I know at the water department, they do regular checks, so I'm not sure if they do it here. Thank you. Okay, so those are outside of the scope of the clerk's office and what we're doing today. So our council will look into that and give us additional information, and we'll also look at the ordinance from a broader perspective. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, I will make a motion to move items 1 through 12 to the full board for
Moved by Commissioner
consideration.
Baydun, supported by Commissioner Marecki. Roll call.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Baker McCormick,
Yes.
Commissioner Marecki,
Yes.
Commissioner Clemente,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Baydun.
Yes.
Chair Kinlock.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Next item on the agenda.
Item F, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
I know if none, next item.
Public comments.
At this time, I'd like to open up the telephone lines and I will like to, in the microphone for individuals on Zoom. And I would like to ask anyone on Zoom or joining us by telephone, if they're interested in addressing this committee, to please raise your hand to be recognized on Zoom.
We have Ms. Buffington on Zoom.
Ms. Buffington.
Hello, Your Honorable Commission. I'd just like to say, to your point, your last question that you asked about checks on individuals, we are in contract negotiations. Right now, that is an issue, and it was brought forth before. That's a problem with your hiring retention. A moving violation, whether it be a DUI or a regular ticket, is now a misdemeanor. That is one of the issues and sticklers of your hiring points. Certain departments will not hire or ascertain employment because of a misdemeanor, which is now a driving infraction on your record. That is just something for this honorable body and Wayne County to consider. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. And are there anyone asking to have their hands recognized?
No other hands are raised.
Okay, before we adjourn, I'm going to ask Deputy Budget Director if he can approach the Mr. Whittigan. And both of you all of us. Forgot to ask under the items from the chair, any update on this relates to the budget, progress of the budget?
Good evening. Greg McIntyre, Deputy Budget Director. We have revised our budget calendar. We're still going to be ahead of where we were this time last year. We're presenting to CFO Wallace today and our CEO Evans next week. And then from that point, we will meet with department heads, and then we will meet with fiscal staff, and then we will submit to commission.
Okay, just to let you all know that the commissioners have submitted their budget requests. The chair and I will be meeting over the next week along with Mr. Adams. And then we will begin our process of meeting with Mr. Evans, and then, then so you'll eventually hear the trickle down. Yep. Yep. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes,
Also, there were no emails received for public comments.
thank you. Next item.
Adjournment.
Moved by Commissioner Baydun, supported by Commissioner Mareki. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.